Hey, everybody, I am Captain Tommy Scoville. And that, of course, means that you are on the lifeboat. How the heck are you? It is Thursday, the 28th day of the month of September. And you know what that means? That means that tonight I have an interview with Misha, and it is not one that you are going to want to meet. I mean, not one that you are going to want to miss. I'm sorry, I was reading that at the same time. Had a cat on my back. Lulu hopped up to say hello, and that she loves my duvet cover. Excellent, excellent. Nothing's better than starting a morning with a cat. My morning did not start that well. I'm gonna be really honest with you. My morning started pretty hump. And that will happen from time to time, right? You can't always have a good day. There are going to be days that are going to just absolutely suck. Hello, quiet girl. Good to see you. Thanks for all the hard work. Actually, starting to get me halfway organized, which is really a struggle. It's something that I have really serious problems with, but we're getting a little better. I'm going to tell you how I woke up this morning, people. But I will start this way. I've done a decent amount of damage in my life. Yeah, right. So, and I have a couple of ex-wives. I've got a few girlfriends that I had along the way, and that I have occasionally made references to times of my life where I have been with certain people, certain women. I don't smut them up. I don't talk bad about them. I certainly don't use their names or do anything like that. And very often, I will change up the story like this much. You know what I mean? Like if it happened at a TGI Fridays, I might say it happened at a Bennigan's. Right? There's a little poetic license so that I'm never really spot on with telling the story of exactly how it went down. Right? Um, so uh, I get a phone call this morning from one of my exes. When we went with the Scovilles, it was because we did not want our families to have to put up with a lot of the stuff that you open yourself up to when you do internet stuff, and that's just kind of the reality of how it is now. My past is pretty much open to the world, right? So my dirt is worn on the outside of my coat. It's kind of hard to hide it when you've been to the joint 3 times, right? So, but one of my a significant other from my past was contacted and was told about the lifeboat, and apparently this person had never gone there. And it makes a lot of sense because she was not a social media kind of a person. She was a much more out doing things in the world kind of person. Very athletic, very just an outdoors kind of a woman, and a great person. And I've said that a million times. She was a great person. I did huge amounts of damage to. But she got a phone call from someone who said that your ex is getting filthy rich and famous on the internet, um, telling stories about you and basically destroying you. And now the sad thing is, if you get that phone call and you show up at the boat, there's 1,200 1-hour videos. So can you imagine the deep dive that this poor woman will have to do? I'm going to get a lot of views, but the deep dive that this woman would have to do to check to see if. And I said, randomly go pick any one of them. I said, first season stuff, you probably would hear me talk about you more in the first season than I did in the second. It's pretty cold hearted that somebody reached out and did that. And the rich and famous part is funny as hell, right? Like they were trying to push every button known to man, and then they mentioned to her that I was quite intimate with all of the young women on the lifeboat. With all due respect to all of you, you're all young women. However, none of you young women are under the age of about 37. We don't have that demographic, right? Honestly, if you look at if you take a look at our numbers, man, people from 18 to 30, like that demographic, we don't have 1%. Like I don't think we have one person. It's certainly not enough to register. If we do, yeah, that occurred to me, Gamer Jackie. That occurred to me. The first two phone calls were really really ugly. By the third phone call, I had her calm down quite a bit, and I just said, "I've never once trashed you," and you know, I'm not one of those people that has I've never been able to hate somebody after I had a relationship with them. I feel like if you spent any amount of time with somebody and you really build up that, you have some kind of love, like you really are sharing something like that. It has always astounded me that people could go like that fast and the following day hate you. Now I realize there's a fine line between love and hate. I mean, you think about it, right? The same thing with people you hate, that people you love. You think about them all day long. You obsess about them. All of your thoughts are about them. What can I do to affect them, right? The thoughts are the same in both directions, right? So there really is some similarities. But so I got this. So I got this morning tossed at me, and then I explained that there's a decent chance that it could have come from this, this crap organization associated with this fake church, and kind of explained that, by honestly no fault of my own, by being a prison expert, by being brought in to do color commentary on what the inside of a prison is like for people with that kind of a crime. I met a lot of people from who are ex Scientologists, and I guess I have made a enemy of this organization, which is somewhat unfortunate for them. And I know, no joke, like for real, that's bad form. But there are people who run, and that's never really been built that way. I was taught at a very young age that if you run from problems, that uh, you're still going to have to face them, but you'll just be exhausted and tired from running when you have to. So your best bet is to just sort of turn around, plant your feet, and start swinging, right? And I've kind of lived that way, you know. That's kind of how I've lived. So huge shout out, because I guarantee you she's watching this morning to see, how how I how I handled this. But I've never mentioned her name on the air. I'm not. It's not something that I would do. I feel no animus. I really don't. We certainly, and I have been honest. Right? I've been honest. This woman got my identity. Right? This woman stole some money from me. However, if I had not been the dirtbag that I had been, none of those situations would have ever happened. And I take full 100% responsibility for all of that. And I always have. If you've watched this show for any period of time, you know that is an absolute truth. I have always said that because it's the truth. I didn't do it for for credit. I did it because it's the gospel truth. I can't remember a relationship that I ever had that the end of was not my fault. I guess if I really thought about it, maybe I could find one, but the vast majority, for sure, in the high 90% range, I just have screwed those things up. But however, it does bring up a really interesting question, right? And this is a question that comes up in sobriety constantly. It really does. If you've got something in front of you and it's causing you stress, there are two ways that you can cope with it. And as addicts, we usually pick the deuce, right? The second way that you cope with it is you shelve it, right? I table the motion. We are not going to talk about this. We're not going to think about this. We're just going to put it off. I've got this assignment that I've got to get done by Tuesday. My landlord is coming and I have to have the entire house cleaned by Friday. Whatever the case may be, right? The homeowners association dropped off that letter, said, mow your freaking lawn or we're going to start fining you. And like the pressure starts, you start to feel it. And it's like the feeling is uncomfortable, right? We don't dig that. That's a crap feeling. All of a sudden there's this impending doom, right? There's this bad thing that's going to happen. They're going to fine you, or this person is going to be angry. Your boss is going to fire you. You don't get this done. And all of we start to hang crepe, right? Crepe hangers. You start thinking worst possible case scenarios, and you start saying to yourself, this doesn't feel good, right? Inside, this sucks. This is not a fun feeling. I know what I'll do. I'll stop thinking about it. Right? I'll stop thinking about it. And how do we do that? Well, everybody's got a method, right? Everyone has a method. And when people hear that individuals do things, and anytime you hear something and you say to yourself, I'm sorry, that just doesn't make any sense to me. No two things. No, number one, it's probably because you're ignorant, not dumb, not stupid, just not educated on the subject matter, right? I'm going to bring one up that's a perfect example. I was heinously naive to the concept of self-harm, right? Until I started down this road. And what I have come to realize is it's the exact same thing, right? Everything that people do, they do to get rid of a feeling that is uncomfortable in the brain. For some individuals, they cut themselves, right? This is something that happens. And it does the same thing as me sticking a needle in my arm. We have a very, very bizarre makeup, right? The human mind is a fascinating thing, but there are people who control their emotions and keep them at bay with eating. There are people that do it with exercise. There are people that do it with sex. There are people that do it with 8 billion different things. But it all comes back to the same thing. We don't like that feeling. And again, back to procrastination. We don't like the feeling. Something comes up and we don't like how that feels. So we say, I'm not going to think about it. And the date keeps getting closer, right? The date keeps getting closer. And you're one of two kinds of people. You're the kind of person who ends up pulling off what you need to do at the 12th hour, right? Which puts a hole in your stomach about this big. Those are always really good for ulcers, right? You start going, oh God, and you got to stay up all night long, which probably requires maybe a little bit of meth or some Adderall or whatever, but you pull an all-nighter and you get the crap done, right? That's one way. The other way is the people that just say, you know what? Today's the deadline, right? The landlord's going to be here. And then F it. The landlord can come in here and see it. What do I care? And we get the screw it's, right? Or the efforts or whatever you want to call it. But you know what I'm talking about, where you just say, screw this, man. Screw it. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. This is the part where I just say, you know what? This is who I am. And it's that acceptance of I'm a drug addict. This is it. That moment of acceptance, I think, is it's probably the at the same time the most dangerous time in an addict's life, and probably the easiest time to save them. If you find a person at that moment, and it doesn't happen often, but I have spoken to people since starting the lifeboat who I was literally on the phone with when they came to the realization that holy mackerel, this is real. Like I have given up. I was talking to a gentleman in particular, and God bless him, and we had a really good laugh about it afterwards. And I'm not going to say his name, but he said to me, Tommy, I've been in sweatpants for about 6 months. And he goes, I wash them, He said, but I haven't put on anything. He said, have you ever seen the episode of Seinfeld? And I'm a Seinfeld freak. So I remember the episode where George Costanza, made a reference to the fact that when you wear sweatpants, it just says to the world, I've given up, right? And he said, for 6 months, I've been wearing sweatpants and just getting loaded. You're so much better off, people. You are so much better off to turn around, dig in your heels, and start swinging. Electric Boogaloo. There is no damn way that we have somebody here whose avatar name is Electric Boogaloo. You are a hero of mine. I'm telling you that right now. That would be breaking two for those of you in the uninitiated, right? For that huge group of young women, apparently, that I have been chasing around, right? the ones that would be too young to remember Electric Boogaloo. That would be that's the second, right? That was the second. The first one was called I don't remember, but Boogaloo Shrimp was one of the guys. That really is one of the funniest periods of time in the history of humanity. I was a very happy camper during those times. That was that was that moment of innocence right before I became an idiot. You know what I mean? Honestly, like I hadn't started doing anything stupid at all yet at that point. But when the breakdancing movies were coming out, Boogaloo Shrimp. Come on, seriously. Is there anybody else here that would have come up with Boogaloo Shrimp? That was one of the cat's names. Well, I have got to believe that that Electric Boogaloo probably is aware of all of the character names from Breakin' 2. Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. Good stuff, man. Trip down memory lane. You just made my morning. What a great way to start a Thursday. What a great way to start a freaking Thursday. So we were talking about procrastination. But yesterday I did a show and it was an unfortunate thing because I had to wrap the show up early because I was doing a 7:00 interview and it was going to be 3 hours of lifeboat back to back. And I had done a 3-hour interview or a 2 hour and 47-minute interview earlier that morning. And then I had done like an hour live feed in the afternoon. And I honestly started getting punchy. You know what I mean? And I have done this 4 or 5 times on film where I do over the course of a day, I might do 7 or 8 hours or something. You know, and by the last of it, I'm going like this, right? And there is nothing they like better than screenshotting a picture where my eyes look like, you know, there's 1,200 and some odd hours of me. If you really want to take time to go snap some screenshots, I'm sure you can get some great facial shots. But I no longer continue to do live feeds until I fall down. It's bad form. It's one thing if I'm doing it to help somebody get 4,000 hours or something like that. Watching in 2 times speed to catch up, 10 minutes behind. Okay. You know what? Sometimes I can be very difficult in 2 times speed. That's impressive. There are some people that are really hard to listen to in double speed because they talk in double speed. And sometimes when I get on a roll, I can be difficult to listen to in 2 times. Now I feel like I should be slowing it down for all of those out there that are now trying to catch up. So I ended up doing a short video on fear, and I think that this is I don't know. I'm hyper focused right now on this. I really am. I'm hyper focused right now on fear because so many people that I talk to who are struggling and about to relapse, every single time it's tied to fear. In one version or another, it is always tied to fear. You really gotta get to a point where you control that. And as I've said in the past, you don't fear things that have already happened to you. You never get up in the morning and go, "Oh man!" People go, "What's wrong, Tommy?" Just tripping. You know, June 6th, 1988 is terrifying me. Right? I mean, the everything in our past, you know, that we got through, we're usually pretty fired up that we got through. It's in our past and we learned from it or we didn't. You know, a lot of times there are things that we do not learn from. But regardless, it's in the past. Bish, there's no time spent tripping. There's no time spent thinking thoughts and being worried about the past. We do a crap load of worrying about the future. And it's commensurate. The farther out you're really concentrating on, right, the worse off you're going to trip. You start thinking of, you get into a situation like I had when I was with my daughter. When my daughter was not in my life, I lived with her at either 18 or 30 because I knew there was no chance that they were going to allow me into her life at all. They made that very clear, right? Her two moms said, it's not going to happen. You're not going to be a part of this girl's life. So I start living for that 18 moment, right? When she's going to be 18 years old. And then I run through the worst case scenario where I show up at her graduation and she hates me. Or sometimes it would be the best possible case scenario and she would just be happy to see me. But I lived there. And I lived there for so friggin' long. I mean, I lived there for years. And the only way to make it stop was heroin. So she was my favorite excuse. I mean, I was going to be doing it one way or the other, but she was absolutely my favorite excuse because it was the thing that I wanted most to go away in my head. It was the thing that I wanted the most not to think about. And like so often happens, right? We build this event up for the future and we just get so hung up on this. And I'm in prison and I was reaching out to my son and he said, hey, mom wants to talk to you, meaning my ex-wife. And I said, oh, goodness, that's never good, right? That's not usually a good thing when my ex-wife wants to talk to me. I said, what have I done? And he said, no, I think this is something good. So I called her and she said, our daughter would really like to get to know you. And you have to understand that I spent 12 freaking years every single day telling myself that couldn't happen. That was never going to happen. And I was way too stupid to realize that we don't know what's going to happen. We never do. Even if you are filthy freaking rich, even if you've got life by the handles, right? Even if you've got life exactly where you want it, you've got maids and servants and people to help you and all of that. You have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. It is not going to lay itself out in front of you. But I spent a dozen years getting high because I was never going to get to talk to her when she was a girl. I was going to miss that entire part of her life. And I got on the phone with her. I've told the story on here before, and I got on the phone, and it was one of the most heart-wrenching things because she had been told that I didn't want to have anything to do with her. And you know what? All is forgiven, by the way. I understand exactly why my ex told her what she did, and it probably was not a great thing. It really was not. If she had to do it again, I guarantee she wouldn't. But it is how it went out, and it was how it played out. And I was bitter about it and went through all that. But I said to her, I want you to know that I always wanted to be in your life. I don't believe, that I didn't. I know you have no reason to believe me. I said, but at my house, I've got a box of every, birthday card and Christmas card and things that I mailed you that just got kicked back to me, and and she said, I got a box like that for you too. You just don't know. You don't have any idea what the future is going to hold. We get so caught up because of addiction and because of how much time we've kicked the ever-loving crap out of ourselves, and society has piled on by telling us that we're worthless and that we're weak. You're weak. You can't handle it, so you do dope. You're weak. You can only have people tell you that you're weak for so long before you really start buying it, right? I'm just a weak person. Okay, so I may as well just go get loaded, right? That's who I am. So getting Cedar back in my life was life-changing, like massively. I found out very, very quickly that we were really a lot alike. It became obvious to me very, very quickly why her mom wanted to have me back in her life, because this girl is the best of what I am. She didn't get any of the bad, but boy, she got a lot of the good. Like, she's got all of her mom's common sense and things that I lack. You know what, Stephen? You know what? It's really easy when we look back uh, at history, whether it's the world's or whether it's our personal history, and we look back with what we know today, right? And looking back with what we know today, we can say, "Boy, what a bunch of dirtbags! Like, how do they keep you out of your daughter's life, right? Like, you're such a huge part of her life, and the two of us literally are best of friends. You know, I talk to my daughter constantly. I just love her, like I can't explain, right? But you got to view the decisions that they made through who I was at that time, not who I am now. I agree with you. I think the cards probably should have been given to her, and I don't think you ever tell a kid that a family member doesn't want to have anything to do with them. I think that's a really bad thing to do to a child. And my daughter and I have spent ungodly amounts of time hashing all of this out. Like, she's a great communicator, and the two of us would sit and talk for hours on end. But she went through a long period of time as a kid wondering why her dad would not want her, and that's jacked. And I'll be really honest, even in the midst of all of the drug haze that I spent my life in, um, I would have figured that one out. I would have figured out that that would have been tough on a child, for a child to say, like, every Father's Day, why did my dad not want me? On the bright side, it's over, it's in the past, and I get phone calls at 2 a.m. If my daughter is stressed out, I'm the go-to, and my daughter doesn't get stressed out until about 2 a.m. Usually between 2 and 4 is right around the time that Cedar starts feeling the need to talk to me, but. You don't know what tomorrow brings. You really don't. And I could tell stories like this forever. I really could. You guys all know I lost my dad 2 Februarys ago, and he was certainly my best friend and a great father. He really was. All of his kids turned out fantastic, but me, he was batting like 750. As a dad, I went off the rails. Everything that happened to me was my fault, not anybody else's. I made the choices, and but my dad was. Yeah, you know what? I start going down this road. This is going to be the cry hour. To make a long story short, here's what I'll tell you. I lost him a couple of Februarys ago, but in like 2004, I had a doctor say to me, "You need to go in and say goodbye to him." Right? Like, they told us he was on his deathbed. This was it. Like, go in and say bye. It's over. And I mean, we got like 20 some odd years after that. We got a long time. But at that moment, right? At that moment, you can't see past your hand. And that fear, when the following morning he was alive, instead of rejoicing, right? Because I break my time into small little chunks, right? Yeah, I was happy for about 6 seconds. And the rest of the time, I was thinking out to what it's going to be like for my kids to not know my dad. And I just started painting the worst freaking possible scenario. And it is what we do. And if your mantra can become, what is the best possible case scenario that can come out of this, right? When the ship hits the sand, you get a call from an ex who says, "I just got a phone call that says you're getting rich and famous," um, basically trashing me and my reputation, and you're doing this for the entertainment of others and charging people for it. Um, what is the best possible case scenario that can come out of this? Right? What is the best possible case scenario that can come out of this? This woman can realize that the people that called her are a bigger pack of scumbags than I am, and that she needs to start documenting all of this, because she's a victim in of some people that are bad individuals. and that we're not going to make any mistakes, right? This girl's very intelligent. That's the best case scenario, right? But if you go to the worst case scenario, right? Oh God, this is going to be like a 6-hour screaming match, and then we're gonna revisit every single damn thing I did in the entire time I knew her, right? I promise you, what you think before that situation happens, right, is going to determine exactly what happens. If I go in there waiting for the big fight, if I go in there waiting for the, all right, man, fur's going to fly through this, I can think of a few really rotten things to say to her too, right? Let's talk about, exactly how you handle nothing good's going to come out of that, right? I'm not happy that this happened, right? This really is kind of a victim thing. Cassandra Bullock, addicts in recovery are the strongest people I know. You know what? I think that there's a lot of truth to that. I really do. I honestly believe that there's a lot of truth to that. It was so important for me to make sure that she understood that I was really bummed out that this happened to her, because I really was. She didn't need this BS in her life, right? This woman has moved on from me and has absolutely no reason whatsoever to have to put up with any more crap from my actions. And that's anybody from my past, right? I don't want anybody from my past having to put up with that. So I wanted to make sure that that got conveyed, and it did very early on in the conversation. And we were able to get to a point where we're not going to be friends. There's not much of a possibility of that, right? But we can be in agreement that there's an enemy worse than her or me. And the good thing is, this is a vicious woman, right? They mess with her, I'd be just as afraid of her as I would be of me, right? But now they kind of messed with both of us. So I don't run from crap. I really don't. Like, I turn around and dig my heels in. Doesn't mean I get into jaw jacking, all that. Boy, you know what? I can't think of one word I can even say on the internet anymore. It's really kind of sad that people have completely changed the English language. Everything has become offensive. All of the things that I used to say growing up, I can't say anymore. And you know what? I didn't say them in the meanings that they attribute them to now, which is really quite sad. But yeah, turn around and fight your problems. Well, it's hard to do, Tommy. Yeah, damn right it is. Write them down on a piece of paper, right? When you can read what you have to do, it's no longer a monster. You understand? We hide from monsters. We've been doing it since we're little kids. And the monster could be that thing that you need to get done. I got a landlord coming here. My house is a mess. The landlord is going to do a walkthrough. And if I don't get this place spick and span, I'm going to be on the street, right? I got to get this done by Friday. But you don't do anything on Monday, right? Because you're so stressed out Monday that you need to take the day off just to deal with the stress, right? Tuesday, same number. And this continues to start steamrolling, right? Getting out of control because it's a monster. It's this thing that cannot possibly be, there's no way I can get it done. So why should I even get a piece of paper? Right down at the top of the page. Landlord is coming in X number of days. Figure out how many freaking hours that is. For real. How many hours of that are you awake? And how much can you get done each hour? When you start breaking stuff down into logic, you can't believe the things that can happen. It really is remarkable. Good morning, brother. Here's something for your morning show or whatever you want to have for breakfast. Thank you, my man. Always appreciated, Russ. Thank you for a great show last night. The feedback from it was off the hook. It really was. It's going to that is going to be a segment of the show that I think is going to really do well. It's and it's cool because it gives people what they want, which is great. And Russ is not a guy that revels in the past. Absolutely has no problem telling the story. We can do it with a smile on our face, but I'll straight up right before we went live yesterday. So let's have fun and let's make sure that we don't forget that this is about sobriety. And I said, damn, that's just really the right thing you want to hear, right? That's just what you want to hear before you do a show like that. And you know what? Prison was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not because they did anything right. I assure you, right? Because of Q, prison was the best thing that ever happened to me. But anyway, and the best thing that ever happened to Russ was prison, but because of Russ, right? Not because of the. I promise you to get. It's the way you need to look at prison is this. It's like getting dumped in a cave, right? It really is. It's like being dumped in a cave. Now you can turn that into an ashram, and you can start doing push-ups, and you can start meditating, and you can start seeing how you can leave that cave, right? A better person than you walked in. Or you can just go into survival mode and try to make it as cushy as possible, right? And that's usually how it works in prison. There are guys in there that are going to do everything within their power to make the experience inside as close as possible as they can to the outside. And that's going to mean booze, that's going to mean drugs, that's going to mean sex if at all possible. It means everything that they can do to live outside, they're going to do. And those that take the exact opposite effect, those who say, you know what, I'm going to do my entire sentence right here. I'm going right here. Forget all that, right? I'm not watching TV. I don't want to know what the friggin' Kardashians are doing, because you know what? It's not going to help me. When I walk out of here, if I can tell you one Kardashian's name, I swear to you, I do not think I can name a Kardashian. I'm pretty proud of that. I really am. I'm pretty freaking proud of that. I took my time in there and I used it to the benefit. I really did. You know what? The Gray Zone says Scientology calls. I'm sorry they're bothering you, Tommy. SBTV and I appreciate you all on the lifeboat for having our backs, so we may regain basic human rights. Thank you, Tommy. You know what? Thank you. Boy, what a great freaking comment. Huh? If you ever started going, what does this have to do with recovery? Let's leave that one up for a minute. Because recovery is recovery, people, right? If we start being those people, right? If we start being those people, number one, I'm out of here. Right? First of all, I'm gone. But what will it say about us? You went to NA, right? Oh, you're a Coke guy? The Coke guys are over there, right? I mean, if you've been to NA, honestly, there are so many NA meetings that are like that, where if you go in and say, yeah, I was addicted to heroin. 3 guys at the table over there are heroin guys. We're meth people. You know what I mean? And everything just starts getting compartmentalized. Holy hell. It's like I was talking about in the beginning. If you're doing self-harm, right? Or if you're using a food and developing an eating disorder, or anything you're doing to cope with the fear in your life, to feel comfortable in your own skin, to get through the crap that every one of us faces and don't have a handbook, right? It should make a lot of sense to everybody that's ever had a drug problem, that Scientologists thought, holy hell, there's a handbook. It honestly makes a hell of a lot more sense than, all right, just give me the dope, right? Because it's the same exact thing. We were looking for the same payout. We were looking to make sense of all of this, right? Doesn't make sense to us. Those of us that are not normies, right? The world does not make sense to us. Doesn't make sense to the normies either. I promise you it doesn't. Except they have a different way to cope. And for some people, it's religion. And for some people, it's, love. And for some people, it's nature. And for some people, it's the here and now. And the fact that that's all that they're going to have. And they're going to concentrate on squeezing every single bit of life, love, and joy that they can out of that. No matter what it is, no matter how you're choosing to, you know what, quiet girl, put it up for me, because I don't have it in front of me right now, hon. I am literally not firing on all cylinders, hon. So if you could put it up, just please do. That would be great. But this needs to make sense to everybody. This needs to make sense to everybody, right? I honestly said it day one. Go back and watch my first video, right? This isn't a rehab channel. I mean, technically it isn't. Right? It's not an anti-drug channel either. I don't have a problem with people that do drugs. I can't do drugs, right? For me, doesn't work out at all. I can't do it. But I understand why people do drugs. Makes perfect sense to me, right? Because they're trying to make this world make sense, and they can make certain emotions go away for a period of time, and they find that really enticing. But we all would like to make sense of this earth. I'm going to embrace anybody that tried to make sense of this earth in any way, and it didn't work out, right? I tried making sense of this earth with heroin. Didn't work out. And on the video I did last night with Liz, I talked about how when I met the kind of expat, like the second gen ex Scientologists, they don't look at convicts like they're convicts. And I mean, look at them, because I'm telling you right now, people, there is a look that you see. And if you're not a convict, then you have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you're a convict, you know that look, that when you have to say, yeah, I've been to prison, and you watch that, like the light goes off. It's just a completely different look. And it's unbelievable. And you're right. You know what? In every walk of life, it doesn't matter. Missed another live, which seems impossible because there's so many. There's so many time zones, I guess. Is the iPad still an issue? Here's the tenor. Much love, crew, Bella. Oh, self-harm, eating disorders. My, oh my. Thank you so much, Paula. The lap, I mean, the iPad is functional. If I could show it to you. The iPad is functional. You have to be very careful. You will cut your fingers because the top is shredded. But I am looking into, and I am very close right now to, and all of you, seriously, donations have covered enough to get the iPad redone. You probably have noticed that the thumbnails, Paola, have not been what they used to be. I'm having a tougher time to be sure. I do all that on my uh, on my broken iPad. Cassandra Bullock says, didn't work out for me either. Been in recovery for 14 years. It didn't work out for any of us, right? Whatever we tried. I thought the Kardashians were from Star Trek. Tommy Bird. That's excellent. I think they might be. That really is an excellent comment. You hear that? Tommy Bird says, I thought the Kardashians were from Star Trek. Excellent. I probably could name way more people from Star Trek than I could Kardashian. Honestly, I swear to you, I can't think of one, and I'm really trying to now. But I cannot think of a Kardashian. None of us did particularly well trying to make well, here's one that's not a shocker. We hear a few years ago, a friend of mine in South Africa had a stroke, which triggered a bad manic episode. The Scientologists somehow got a hold of him, and they basically kidnapped him from the hospital. Excuse me. Does anybody have a problem believing that in any way? Does anybody here have a problem believing that even this much? Okay, so imagine a drug addiction, right? What's the difference? What's the difference? Honestly, the difference is that the dope dealer is a little bit more surreptitious, right? I would try to quit doing dope, right? And I would do 7 or 8 days, right? And I'd be white knuckling and just hurting. And I literally would get a phone call from my dope dealer who'd go, hey man, I heard from you in like 7 days. Are you okay? Yeah, man, I quit. I just got off the stuff. Good for you, man. Proud of you. No joke. That's awesome. Whatever you do not go back onto it. And I'd say, thanks, man. I appreciate that. If you decide to, though, call me, right? Don't start doing it with somebody else. I'll give you the first couple grams free or whatever. Classy, right? How long do you think it takes to call that guy back and get the first couple of grams for free? It's the same thing. It really is. You know why? Because we're friggin' cash cows. Think about it, right? To the Church of Scientology or to a drug dealer, To a drug dealer, we hand them money and they hand us the ability to feel good in our own skin for what? X period of time. And they do everything they can to keep us there. And they use addiction as a way to do that. The church uses brainwashing as a way to do that. And they terrorize people as a way to do that. But it's there for the same reason, right? It's just about cranking out cash. And both entities, whether you're a drug dealing scumbag or whether you're the church, are both doing it tax-free. Ain't that a hoot? And the church is getting free labor, completely free labor, right? Slave labor, because what they're going to call that is that somebody volunteered, right? They're religious volunteers. How the hell are you a volunteer if you sign a contract, right? When you sign a contract, doesn't that become contractual, right? Isn't that servitude? That's how you take down this piece of crap church, one state at a time. You get states to pass laws against indentured servitude, right? Religious or otherwise. You cannot go and volunteer, right, for the rest of your life and do it at $50 every other week, right? Pass that state by state and watch how fast that thing gets disassembled, right? Straight up. Makes sense? It really does. Makes a shitload of sense because that's not something you should be able to allow to happen. It's voluntary slavery? No, it shouldn't be too hard to pass a law against, right? Guess where I'm starting? I'm starting in Arizona. That's where I'm starting. You think I'm kidding, people? I'm a little perturbed, right? I'm a little perturbed. And I will dig my heels in. I'll turn around. I'll dig my heels in. I'll get loud. And the really funny thing is if they shut the hell up, I would have gone away. Like Danny Masterson was pretty much, that was the story. Now, the more that they messed with me, the more I started meeting people from this community, the more I started to get a real handle on the fact that there's no difference between the Church of Scientology and a dope dealer. For real, there's no difference. And the effect is actually you're a crap load safer doing dope, because if you're addicted to dope, there's usually a crap load of people, right, who have much more access to you. The drugs still pull you back and the drugs still pull you back, but your loved ones can sit down across from you and for you to get clean, right? Your loved ones can do interventions. They're going to let you do that down at the local org. What do you think? We knock on the door and say, we're here to do an intervention. Bob Ferris. I'm Captain Tommy. And we'd like to do an intervention with about 7 or 8 family members and friends that would just like to tell him how much we care about him and the fact that we'd like him to walk out of here. You cool with that? How is it possible that they can say that that's not allowed? If it was friggin' drugs, we could get in there, right? We could absolutely get in there and do an intervention. This religious envelope or this religious umbrella, ain't religion, people. There's no freaking religion there. It's not. And the really funny thing is they brag that it's not until it's time to not pay taxes. They're a hoot. They're a hoot. But you know what? You're going to pull a lot of people into a fight that you didn't need to pull in, you freaking geniuses. Straight up. You're gonna pull a lot of people into this fight, and you could pull some devious SOBs in by accident. Seriously, it's so funny how people do stupid things, man. Stupid things. Well, after people from my past, it's not a smart thing. Nobody you're going to run into from my past is particularly normal. Seriously, you think I married people that were not in some way like me? Think I dated people that were not in some way like me? You're going to run into some crazy people. Keep doing what you're doing. Watch what happens. Some stuff that's come now has even shocked Mike Rinder. Yeah, I tend to believe that. Susie Q says they're going down. I absolutely believe that, and I believe it will happen in my lifetime. It'll be one state at a time. Forget going after them. Just pass a law in one state and take away all of their free labor. You knock all the free labor out of there, that becomes a much different institution. You start paying all of those people that are in the Sea Org minimum wage, right? Let them unionize. No, but if you started paying all of them minimum wage, right? You realize the damage that does. Free labor is a beautiful thing. Seriously. Look at what countries have done with free labor. It's you can build an amazing empire very quickly with free labor. But it shouldn't be allowed. And it shouldn't be allowed for any reason. If you're slick enough to get someone to sign a contract, doesn't mean it should be legal. Because I promise you, people, I promise you, all it takes is a really good con man. We've seen it happen so many times. Only this sick SOB got people to sign a contract for 1 billion years. 1 billion years? How does that not go in front of a judge and have a judge go, yeah, are you yitting me? Good Lord. No, we need one. We need one. First of all, the pyramids were built by aliens. Come on, we all know that. Pyramids weren't. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that. I'm a big pyramid fan, though. They can't get out of their own way. This, all it takes, and I'll tell you something, people, you do realize that politicians are just complete and utter pieces of crap, right? Every last one of them. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle they're on. And I don't care if they're helping you. They're still pieces of crap. However, the only reason they help people, right, is because of this. I promise you. There's a great song for all of you people of a certain age called Alice's Restaurant. And they play Alice's Restaurant on Thanksgiving Day, 24 hours a day, right? For the entire day, they will play. You can have anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Arlo Guthrie. Come on in, it's around the back, just half a mile from the railroad track. You know the song? You can have anything you want at Alice's Restaurant, excluding Alice. Anyway, the reason I bring up that song is he does this sort of a sing around thing in the middle of the song, and he talks about how, you know what, one person doing it, you might look silly, but a couple of people doing it, well, now you got something. And if 3 people start doing it, well, you might just start a movement, right? And if 4 or 5 people start doing it, well, what happens if a couple of thousand do? Well, I'll tell you what. If I was the Church of Scientology, and if I was those scumbags in their little I almost said the N-word, and I'm talking about the German N-word. I'm probably deep enough into it. They really are jackbooted thugs, the OSA cats, whatever. But you know what? If I were those cats, I don't care how big your budget is. I don't care how big your balls are. What you're talking about is just being severely outgunned. Pick one good channel that bashes Scientology, and they have more members than the church. And you know what? It's growing every freaking day. It's growing every freaking day. You know what, D. Audrey Gore? I like you already. Alice's Restaurant is one of the greatest songs in the world. I may on Thanksgiving Day just take the strike and play Alice's Restaurant all day on the when I do any of the videos, I'll just have it in the background. You can have anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. It's a great tune. It's a very, very funny song. Come on in, it's around the back. There's a lot of truth to that. Seventh, life gets really simple once you cut out all the BS that they teach you in school, or don't. You know what I mean? We got, So if you're not seeing the, I want the lifeboat. I want the lifeboat to heal people who tried to get through life in a way that didn't work. That's what I want this channel to be. Right. So you're welcome. All of you. Right. What difference does it make? Seriously. Do you know why we're called the lifeboat? Because way back in the beginning, when we were trying to figure out how to name this thing, we said, it doesn't matter what the addiction is. We're all in the same boat. Right? Doesn't matter if you're a drinker. It doesn't matter if you're a smoker. It doesn't matter if you're a workaholic. And it doesn't matter if you got brainwashed, literally. Drug addiction is self-brainwash. Every single thing we're talking about is a prison, right? These are self-imposed prisons. And the sad thing is that we have help, right? There's help. Even though we do it to ourselves, there's help. There's drug dealers. There's governments to let this crap get across the borders, right? There's all kinds of things that have to happen for me to end up a slave in my own prison. With this sick so-called church, it's so obvious and so in your face and so out there. And what do? We give them tax-free status. And why? Because we don't have any backbone. Because at the time, they intimidated people for real. They shoved people around. They went and intimidated enough people and got enough people upset that thought they're going to trash my life. Look what they did to this person. They're going to do that to me. Guess what? You find about 2 million people that all take a run at the same time. All I say is going to be busy as hell, aren't they? Huh? If we all just start getting real pissed and real loud, what are they going to do? Chase down 2 million of us? Tell you what, I'll start right here. I ain't worried about it. And I promise you, Russ ain't. I'm not going to speak for too many other people here, but I promise you, Russ isn't. Seriously, you survive the inside. I assure you, you're not worried about these guys on the outside, right? If you had somebody pissed at you on the inside, you couldn't even run, right? Running wasn't an option. Yeah, there's just nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. Field trip day. Oh man, those were always the best, weren't they? I still remember every single field trip that I went on. Honestly, that's one of those things that because of the how tied in the emotions were. Yeah, I so vividly remember virtually every single one of those field trips I went on. People, that brings us to the top of the hour. And with any luck at all, I think it brings us to perhaps a better understanding of one another. We understand each other better. I think we do. Give us, what does it say at the Statue of Liberty? Give us your broken, your huddled masses yearning to be free. How about your huddled masses yearning to be happy? Huh? How about your huddled masses yearning to be comfortable in their own skin and just to be left alone? How about the pursuit of happiness right freaking here? Everybody's welcome. What does Scientology do to give back? Boy, that's an interesting question. You could go right here in the state of Arizona and do a little research, and you could find out a lot of stuff they did to give back, right? With that ridiculous rehab program that they did. Good work. Really good work. They've never done anything to give back, anything to anybody, except the people at the top that they turned into gods on this plane. Seriously, how do you think the midget actor is living today? Seriously, if you were a pharaoh in Egypt, you weren't living any different than Tom Cruise is today, right? He has slaves. Say it any way you want. He has slaves. Call it whatever the hell you want. Pretty sick, man. Pretty sick stuff. Pretty sick stuff. It really is, man. And it can't go on, right? So raise your hand and say, I'm not going to let this go on. Not on my watch. I'm gonna write to Congressman. I'm gonna get loud. I'm gonna get angry, and I'm gonna stick my hand in the air. Right? Start right here. I'm Captain Tommy. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one. God bless.